Coming home to Grandma's garden. Welcome children everywhere. Come and play in Grandma's garden. Songs to sing and books to share. We'll learn about the world around us.
Thanks for joining us today, friends. I'm so glad you stopped by. I have been thinking about messages. I have a phone and I text messages, or sometimes I'll call someone and I leave a message. But I've been thinking about how do we communicate and how do we send messages to one another. What have you been thinking about? When I'm outside, I look around at all of the insects and birds that are out there, and did you know that they are sending messages all the time? This little friend bee, I just got a new puppet, and probably a she, kind of looks like a bumblebee. A bumblebee is a little bumpier, rounder, and furrier. It's kind of hairy looking, different than a honeybee. A honeybee will get nectar from a flower and bring it back to the hive, and then the bees there make honey out of that nectar. Here is a picture of a honeycomb where honey is made. But a bumblebee doesn't really make the honey that we eat, but it does collect nectar and it does send messages. So what a honeybee will do is it's flying around and looking at things, or a bumblebee, and it will sniff a flower, and when it sniffs the flower, it gets a little bit of pollen on its legs. And it really is there to drink the nectar, and then it'll fly to another flower and leave some of that pollen on that flower. That's a message to that other flower to produce some fruit, to produce more flowers. That's how fruit grows in our gardens. You'll see pumpkin flowers, and if those flowers don't get pollen from another flower, they won't produce a pumpkin. You might see a tomato flower. It needs pollen from another flower to create a new tomato. So all of those bees and other insects that are pollinator insects are really sending messages back and forth. Well, I have received many messages too. I've received lots of drawings that children all over have given to me, something that they've made from their own heart and given to my heart. And it does send a message to me of how much they care about me and about the things around them. So I wanted to give a message back to them. I created a little story and a song that helps tell that same story. So first I'm going to read the story to you, and you will get to see some of the pictures that children have given to me, and they tell the story. I hope you enjoy it. In a not so far away place in the not so distant future, there lived a little child and a little bee. They didn't know each other, but their lives would soon connect in a way that was magical and oh so necessary. They lived in a place that was gray, no color. When the child would dream, she would see fantastic things, greens, yellows, reds, and blues. But when she woke, her world was always gray. She dreamed of one day adding color to her world and the world of those she loved. One day, the child was looking through old boxes and she found a package of seeds. She wondered what they might be for. She'd never seen seeds before. But she had dreamt about seeds, and somehow she knew they went in the ground, and that something mysterious would happen if she waited long enough. So the next day she took her seeds and she went outside into her gray world and looked for a place to put those precious seeds, a place that was safe. She found a patch of ground where there was space to grow, and she put her seeds in the ground and covered them up so they could rest. Then she went back inside. She didn't know what else to do. The next day it rained, and the day after that too. And so the child stayed inside and dreamed. Now in a nearby tree there lived a little bee. She too had been dreaming some amazing dreams. She dreamt of flying through the air, delivering messages to all those who were ready to hear. Each day she would peek her little bee head out of the tree and see if her dream had come true. But each day would be the same. It was a gray world, no color, no messages to deliver. Well, many days went by, and every day when it wasn't raining, the child would walk to where she had put her seeds. Some days it felt like the hope inside of her was the size of just a little seed. It was so tiny, so fragile. But then one day she saw it. A shoot of green was coming up from the ground. A spectacular miracle. And not just one, there were many green shoots of hope reaching toward the sky. Her heart raced, and she knelt on the ground and looked long and hard at those little green things. Yes, the hope inside of her was growing too, and it made her feel like she might explode or burst out singing or something equally as crazy. Every day she went out to check, and every day the green shoots got a little bigger, and every day the child sat and looked at what was happening right before her eyes. Why had no one ever told her of this amazing thing that could happen outside? She would put more seeds in the ground. That was for certain. And what about the little bee? Well, one day she looked out of the tree and saw something that made her little heart flutter. In the middle of the gray, not very far away, there was a tiny spot of color. Could her dreams at last be coming true? The bee tried out her wings. They felt strong, and so she took off from the tree and she flew toward the color. Would this be the day that she delivered her first message? It was on this same day that the child ran to where her seeds were growing. Oh, she was flying today. Yesterday, there had been bumps on many of the green parts of the things that were growing from the seeds. She didn't know what those bumps were, but she hoped that her green friends were okay. Whatever was happening to her new friends, she didn't know, but she was still sure that she was doing the right thing. And then she saw what she couldn't believe she was seeing. There was color everywhere. This was far more than she could have ever hoped for. Her dreams were coming true. And the bee flew toward that color. She could see now that it was not just one color, but many colors of the rainbow. Oh, the little bee could not believe what she was seeing. There was color everywhere. This was far more than she could have ever hoped for. Her dreams were coming true, too. I'd like to share a new poem with you before we sing our song. And I have some new signs to teach you in this song. One of the signs is for the word dreams or thoughts. So when you do that, you point your head, and then like a little fish hook, you pull that out, and another point and a pull. So the little hook is the sign for letter X in our alphabet. So when you say, my thoughts are floating in my head and maybe in my heart. And then we'll say the word dreams, but we're going to build some dreams together. So I'll do those first two lines for you. They go like this. What thoughts are floating in your head and maybe in your heart? What dreams keep growing bit by bit and will not come apart? And then here's the sign for hope. We're going to plant hope like a seed, but the real sign for hope is, again, pointing at your head, and then you hold your two hands up beside you, and then you push that hope right down into your heart. So that's the sign for hope, like that. So the next two lines of the poems go like this. What makes you smile, that secret smile that only you can see? What hope grows deep inside of you for what is yet to be? So let's do the whole poem from the beginning. What thoughts are floating in your head and maybe in your heart? What dreams keep growing bit by bit and will not come apart? What makes you smile, that secret smile that only you can see? What hope grows deep inside of you for what is yet to be? Thank you, friends. I love learning new words. I hope you do too. I have a new word in this song that I'd like to sing for you. The word is absurd. Absurd means kind of a crazy idea, totally unbelievable. Listen for that word in this song. It's a hope that these characters have that might seem absurd. It was gray today, just like yesterday, but a hope within her stirred. She would fly today, just like yesterday, even though it seemed absurd. So she flew, for she knew it was the absolutely, positively most right thing to do. So she flew. It was gray today, just like yesterday, but a hope within her stirred. She would fly today, just like yesterday, even though it seemed absurd. So she flew, for she knew it was the absolutely, positively most right thing to do. So she flew. And there in the garden it grew, a flower from a seed, it was true. The bee tipped her wings, the child waved her hand, and they both said thank you. So they flew, for they knew it was the absolutely, positively most right thing to do. So they flew, and they grew something new.